Here we go. We are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Live Viviana live stream. And tonight's topic is a must-have communication skills for IT professionals. Thank you so much for finding time this evening to join our live discussion. Please make sure you introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know what you do and join our conversation with your comments and questions. If you're new to my live show, I'm Yana Martins, and I've recently started my journey as IT recruiter. So hence, I've started a new YouTube channel dedicated to IT career in Australia. So tonight, we're going to talk about must-have communication skills for IT professionals, and Amit is going to share his valuable insight and real-life experience when it comes to investing into soft skills to progress in the tech career. So as the world changing, new opportunities are popping up. I'm sure there are a few of you who have been thinking, what's next? What skills do I need to gain to future develop my career? It's an incredibly relevant topic today. Please make sure tag or share this video with your friends who need to hear this information. So before I'll pass it on to Amit to introduce himself, I just want to remind you that we're going live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. To watch the replays, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. And I'm going live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network talking about all things about IT career, job search, and specifics of IT industry in Australia. So we're going to answer all your questions from all the platform, but please make sure to stay on the topic. And please make sure you ask as many questions as you want, and the most active participants will also receive a nice surprise at the end of the stream. So that's enough of me. I'm just passing on to Amit to introduce himself. Please, Amit.
All right. Thank you very much, Yana. And it's always a pleasure to connect with you. So, so you all know, so I'm basically, this is a very interesting thing. A lot of people go for their job interviews. And what's the toughest question that has been asked? The toughest question.
Tell me about yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the most difficult question and sort of a make or break question, because that's the first thing. And this is how most of the people introduce, and they're like, hi, my name is Amit Khanna. I have 17 years into IT, and I'm a project manager, and so on and so forth. Now, I've stopped introducing myself like this. Okay, so the way I say is that, hi, I don't introduce myself Amit Khanna because they know me. Okay, there's no point telling my name again. All I say is that professionally, I'm a project manager. Personally, I'm a storyteller. And, there you go. I hooked them up from my first statement. Oh, let's listen to this guy. So here it is. I'm a storyteller and project manager. Now, there's an interesting thing. I have learned to blend these both to fit into my IT career. And that's what we're going to talk it further. Over to you, Yana.
Thank you, Amit, for this short and to the point introduction. So basically, you mentioned that you combine this, your IT career and storytelling. Just tell us, why? Why do you decide to do that?
Well, if you can drop down to the first slide, I want to start. Yeah. So what happened is, we all know this. Okay, there's no surprise just because Google is putting it up. We all know that 33% of our life goes as a working life. Now, what happened is I learned this very early, is that if I'm gonna be a working person, right, then I want to make sure that my work life is a better life, right? And to do that, I found one of the secrets was storytelling. How I implemented it, and I'll show it further as well. So that was one of the things, Yana. So I decided that I make my life better, at least.
Sometimes I feel like I'm spending 50% of my life sleeping.
And there are people who are spending 50% of everything. Think about them. We are talking to IT professionals.
Yeah, I think so. Some people spending 80% working, I would say.
Yeah. And that's the reason, communication becomes very, very important, because you want to make sure that, you have a better life. You want to make sure that your life, whatever time you spend, is at least quality. Okay.
And
So
yeah, and so why do we need to work on our communication skills in the first place? Why just not enough learn your craft, be good at your craft? Why do we need to everyone talking about how important communication skills? So is it really that important?
glad you asked. I have the answer in a second slide, if you please. Sure, this is a very interesting. I would love you guys to go and look at it. Okay, and now remember, this is 2017. The world has changed after that. But one of the things that I loved about this is it says that our robot took sentences from textbooks and Wikipedia, combined them together, optimized it to produce an essay without understanding a thing. Now, when you see this, okay, I sometimes feel that, oh my God, I've spent so much money on certifications and my master's degree. My goodness, robots are already smarter than me. But the below 3 points, right? The below 3 points was communication, creativity, and bonding. Now, that's something, that robots is going to take time, because we all know that jobs have changed. Earlier, there were jobs just to put cap on your toothpaste. That moved on. Now there are robots are replacing a lot of other, jobs which do not require a lot of creative thinking and so on. And that's where communication becomes the most important thing. So that's one of the two reasons.
And also, I guess the other thing we're going to mention as well, that it also depends at which level in your career you are, and that's how important communication skills will be. So do you want to just a little bit talk about this a little bit more?
So, like you see, the more, like, let me talk about myself. All right, here. So what happened is, I think I was age 10, and I was the dumbest child in my family, I guess, because I'm single child, but still I was dumb, because I was compared with my neighbor all the while, right? And when I grew up, and I was very shy. Okay, forget. So I come from India. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. Forget talking English. I couldn't even talk Hindi back then, properly. So when I went through, and my father passed away when I was 15, and I'm still that dumb, shy kid. And then I joined a textile industry, because I have to take care of my mother who's ill, and I also, take care of my education. So when I joined there, of course, I got a job with, the labors, basically, so physical thing. And I saw one day is that one guy coming into, and he's getting into a room with air condition, and he sits there the whole day, and he doesn't look that fit. And we are like strong. And I'm like, okay. And I also realized that his salary is around 1,000 times more than mine or any other person. That's where I learned that, it's not this muscle, but this muscle that I need to develop. So when I learned that, the second thing I also realized that, it's globalization. Now I'm talking back in 2000, but still I learned it back then, is that, I need to learn English. And so I slowly and gradually got into that mode where first thing was, all right, understand English, communication. Now, communication, Yana, is such a huge umbrella, because everything falls under it, right from nodding our heads to tilting our heads to the annotations and the speech and things like that, right? So, and of course, presenting and how you are and so on and so forth, right? So I realized that over last 2 decades that, I use my stories a lot, because I've worked in 7 countries, I've worked in many places. So I've got a lot of stories, right? But I have a way to tell my stories. I don't bore people, and that's the skill. I never knew that. Okay, when people talk to me, they feel entertained with me. But I never realized it till last couple of years, when I thought that, okay, let me see what exactly is going on. And that's where I deep dived into a little on storytelling, and I learned a whole new world now. So communication skills have always helped me, and if you go back to the slide now, to get onto the level, because I realized that, I'm the best technical guy. It doesn't matter, because when I present to somebody who cannot understand this, I need to be more onto the communication front, how I'm going to put across a concept well enough so that the other person can understand it. So that's the whole point. you know I thought I'd
And
share
then,
my
and I guess, for guys who's listening us tonight, at which point of your career did you realize that you need to work more on your communication skill? Did you have that moment, did you have that moment in your career that you think like, okay, so, I've been working on my technical skills, I get certification, but I'm missing something. So please share with us in the comments, if you experience something like this in your life. And Amit, back to you. Like, did you have this like moment in your career? Then you're like, nah, I need to do more storytelling.
Yes, I think yes, because see, what happens is I was a technical person. Okay. Now, I never liked coding that much. I'll be very honest. Okay. I'm not an excellent coder, but I always had this fascination of, presenting. And I realized it was one of my projects where actually one of my managers actually left, the team manager. And we were just three people. And since I was the next senior person, so the office guy came and said that, hey, you know what, Amit, please lead this small team of two now. And I'm like, all right. And that's where I realized that, it's not two things I learned that day is that your age doesn't define that you're going to be a leader. Okay, because what I've seen is that many people get into the position of leadership and hierarchy because they're getting older. Okay, uh, which is not really good sometimes. That's number one. Second is I learned that, even if I have senior people in my team, I need to learn this art of communication, because I need to make sure that I am clear in my communication so that they understand what I'm trying to say and not interpret it in their own way, because that's what I understand communication is all about. And I'll give you an example. Okay, so I used to take a PMI for PMI Mumbai chapter back in India. I used to take certification courses. So I used to train them on PMI ACP, Agile Certified Practitioner. And there I I used to talk this that I love you. This is one simple three words, right? But how you interpret it, someone might come and slap me, someone might come and hug me, someone might go and sue me, right? But it's just the same three words. So that's the point of communication, is that your words have to be interpreted in such a way, or at least articulated in such a way that the other person understands it with the right emotion, of course.
100%. And Satinda is saying, I realized it when I started my career. It took me 2 years, and then life became easy for me. But it took me 5-6 years to be a great communicator, although I was improving on daily basis.
True. That's one thing I realized, that there's no end to communication. Okay, you're not gonna master it ever. But like Satinder says, that it's just an everyday effort. That okay, let me try. But point
Yeah,
taken.
And also, I think the obviously the first step with learning any skills, it's awareness. Once you're aware what you would like to change and paying attention to it, you're already on the way to progression. Because everyone's saying practice makes difference, but at least you're actually consciously doing some tweaks and tweezes, not just repeating the same thing. That's where you progress. So, and I guess it's a really good point, and it's never ending process of improving the communication. But Amit, you also obviously we're talking about different communication skills, and I know that one of your strongest skills is storytelling. But how the storytelling actually, why like storytelling powerful? Why are we talking about storytelling when we're talking about like IT career?
Oh, that's really interesting. So, one of the things, and I think if you can go to the next slide as well, it will. So here is one of the things that, what happens is the research says, and again, everyone knows all this information all the while, right? If you see on the right side, the triangle, it says interpersonal skills, controlling your emotions, socializing, networking, and so on, right? Now, if I talk about storytelling, okay, so what I realized is that we all have, now this is very, very specific to IT guys. Why? Because I worked with them, and I see that in my team, there are brilliant technical people, brilliant. Okay. The only problem is that when they have to put out that idea to somebody, either it could be really boring presentation, or the other way is that they do not go by a certain structure. What I mean to say is that if I come to Yana, to you, for example, okay, with my idea, and I need to tell you the problem first, right? Why I'm doing it, because that's the thing people just forget. Most of the people are so excited that they got a solution, they forget what the problem was. Okay, so storytelling.
100%.
Exactly. And storytelling actually helps you there. It's not just when people hear storytelling, they hear the word story, and the moment they hear story, they either think of children's books or movies, unfortunately. But it's not about that. It's one of the areas which combine many things. And like I always say, if you get 60 seconds or you get 60 minutes, the things that are going to come from your mouth are irreversible. So make sure that you put the words in the right fashion so that you create maximum impact. That's one of the things.
Definitely, and I like how you mentioned about that. You need to actually state the problem and say why you actually been doing this project or trying to solve this problem. Because 100%, so many times people saying that, like, I did this and then I did that and then I did this and then we will do that and we'll get to this. But why we even starting doing this process? So I think it's about setting these expectations in the beginning of your presentation, and kind of giving people this like a bird view on the problem first before getting into the details. So again, it's coming back to the structure, and even we're calling it a storytelling. Eventually it's about the structuring your presentation and actually getting your idea across. And I guess you also talk about how the storytelling can even affect our brain. So how is that possible?
Yeah, sure. So thank you very much. So, there's these concepts of neural coupling and mirroring. Okay, so of course, there's a lot of hormones that play across, so dopamine. So you want to make sure that you have the right hook in the audience. You want to make sure that, your bar graphs, for example, right? So how you display your bar graphs as well can, make sure that your audience is at the edge so that they know what's going to happen next. Right? You want to make sure that you have a right amount of oxytocin will help you in bonding. But neural coupling and mirroring is simply the thing that I take you on a journey, and where we both understand together. So let me give you a classic example. Okay, so when you have a little baby, like few months old, and when you play peekaboo, the baby doesn't go and hide. They'll also do the same. So that's nothing but mirroring. And if you know this concept very well, which works fantastic when you learn a detail on storytelling, you can even train your babies, and you can at least put some good things into their heads right from that time. And it works with us as well, because in my sessions I generally talk about, you'll not know this, but it's like in India, it is called as a flat popper. You get a crispy thing and you put some onions and tomatoes on top of it and eat it. When I'm describing that exactly, and I ask my audience that, did you sense it, feel it, taste it? And they say yes. And that's what happens. So if your presentation has data, you will only hit the language part of your brain. But if your presentation, while you speak, has other aspects, which has emotions, and you take them to a journey, some information, visuals, you will hit 7 areas of the brain. That means you've got your people hooked up to your information. And at the
Yeah.
end, sorry, I just wanted to tell you that, and to all the people here, just understand that why you're doing it. You're doing it because you want to communicate something, you want to persuade somebody about something, you want to ask your team to buy in on your idea or the strategy or the presentation, right? So you want to make sure that you take care of that.
And guys, who's still listening to us, who's on the line, I want to ask you a question. Have you had this like moment in your life and you're like, I just want the facts. I don't want to like any like fluff around all this like storytelling. Just give me facts, and you feel like that's all that you need. And I think like all this like storytelling, it just unnecessary, and no one needs it. All I want is just few bullet points, and that's it. So tell me who can relate to that, and how did you progress in this? Because I'm the same person. I'm really like a bullet point person. I don't like adding up a bit adding up this stories and things. But I think at some point you can realize how important it is to put these bullet points into the context. And I guess Amit, you have a really simple example, but the really powerful example that we have next.
Yeah, sure. So this is an exercise I generally, play around with my team as well. Is that I give them, like, I tell them, I give you $1,000, or let's say $10 or whatever, and you have to choose between an option A and option B. Now, most of the people, and there's a reason why I do this exercise, which will come in the latter slides. But the reason is that when people read, and this is what happens when you read a story. Now, I'll give you a classic example. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about Rokia. Now, imagine if I would have given you Rokia, age 7, bullet point, second stays in Africa, third point stays this. There's no emotion that will generate into your system, okay, because it's bullet points, right? So all we have to do is, and this is a fact, this is a study that was done, and the study found that, and if you go to the next slide, Yana, I'll share. Yeah, the study found that the average donation, so it was $5 that was asked to donate, and the average donation to 3 million people was 1.4, and but double in case of Rokia. But see the graph on the next slide. It's very, very important for us. Identifiable life is more valued than identifiable life with stats. Now, what does that mean? It means that when you share statistics with your senior management, okay, just don't present the stats and then talk about the story. Okay, talk about some story. You have to make it up. I mean, what I'm saying is you have to put the words in your bullets other than bullet. Share it, and it has to be very concise, like 2 minutes. Like, I know people keep saying that, cut to the chase. That's the most famous statement that you see from managers. Cut to the point, or cut to the chase. Cut the chase, sorry. And you want to still talk about it because you'll get time. And if it's an important topic, you will definitely get time. So make sure that you have the presentation slide next, but talk about something that how whatever you're trying to put, you're trying to get more budget, you're trying to get more resources, more team members, or whatever it could be, right? So you want to make sure that you have that story, and that's what it shows. Identifiable life, that means your story has more power than your story plus stats. Stats is the least. If you see in that graph, stats is least. Okay, so that's what. And if you go to the next slide, this was the reason why, because Mother Teresa, you all might know about her, she said that one is okay. If I look at the mass, I will never act, but if I look at one, I will. And then Paul Slovic was the one who actually conducted this whole experiment, I should say. So that's the whole point, that when you present, please have some background with certain emotions in it. Because see, the key is that there are only one thing that I ask people is that, why are you doing it? If you do not have a why, if you're just going to say that, Amit, it's a weekly status report that I give every day, and there's nothing coming inside of me, don't tell a story. Okay. But if you're doing it for some reason, right, and you really feel about it, you connect about it. And please remember, this is not just applicable in your office. Okay, it's also applicable to your child, to your spouse, or your friends. Because if you really care, like my son is just 6 year old, and he's stayed in Sweden a lot. So we have this cultural thing in India. So if you go and ask him to do something, and he'll ask me why. Now I have one option saying that, hey, do it, or I have to persuade him. So that's the choice. So that's where, your communication skills, like I said, help a lot in many places.
And I guess the storytelling, it's one of the base for the negotiation as well. Because again, we can see it in the business world quite often. If you just, list all the quality of your product, the product does this and this and this, and that's a price. How different this product from any other product. So obviously that's why people are spending so much money on marketing and advertising, to tell this story about the product, to connect to people in a more emotional level. And totally agree with Amit. Yes, sometimes if it's just quick monthly report and no one really care about it, it's just a few bullet points, but it's actually project that you care about and you want to really communicate it to the people. You definitely need to spend a bit of more time to put it into context, put a bit of a story around it.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Yeah, it's the project and the people that you really care about. I agree with you.
So Tinta is saying, like, I assume everyone does. Everyone must have something on a day-to-day basis as well. It's always good to see facts, not just stories. And I guess that's what exactly we said. Like, yeah, sometimes you just want to see facts and cut through. But if you really want to, get people on your side, negotiate, you need to add this emotional component as well.
True. And I get it. See, it's not that if you're a storyteller, you're going to tell stories all the while. It's just that you have to pick a choose and the moment, and you need to figure out that, okay, this is really important for me. Like sometimes you get a chance to talk to the CEO. Now if you have to present to them, how are you going to do it? Are you going to do it via bullet point, or are you going to combine it so that you get emotionally connected as well? Like a certain bonding that, oh, I trust this team, they're doing fantastic.
And I guess you actually wanted to mention something about the mind maps as well.
Yes. So before you show that, I just wanted to, so people come to me and they ask me, like, I got a call. So I was in Darwin in February, and I got a call by one of the folks saying that, hey, Amit, I failed a Scrum Master interview. And I'm like, what happened? And he's like, they asked me behavioral based questions, like, what was the toughest time in your project and so on. I said, yeah, you are 12 years experience. So what happened? He's like, I couldn't remember. And I'm like, that is a valid point, because you do so much of work, you don't remember. So I have this way of putting things on a mind map. So what happened is, in one of my projects, we were doing this system integration testing. And we all know that everything has to, we need to create report, right? A document so that we get signed off. So now you can share the screen. Yeah, thank you. So this is what we did. So I use mind mapping for multiple purposes. Now I use this mind mapping to create this, and it took us 35 minutes. Me and my team went into a room and we went on the whiteboard and we started plotting things. All right, we need environment, and then we need ETL, data state, server, so on and so forth. Now there are many benefits of this. My team member took this and wrote a 3-page document on this itself. I can do, and I have many mind maps. This is just one of the mind maps I wanted to share here. But you can make mind maps based on your projects, what all you did. And each mind map, each branch and the sub branch is actually a form of a story, because it's going to take you back. So I did mind maps on the whole manuals. Okay. So when people have to go for their certification, they don't have to pick up a 300, 400 page book. They just go through my one big A3 size mind map, and there you go, 40 minutes, and you have all the pointers ready. Mind maps, I have used it for when I was becoming a parent. You can use it due for wedding. So all I'm saying is that every mind map can help you many things. It basically helps you to be one, more creative, two, put down all the things onto one place, and three, you can pick up any of it and get a story ready. 2 to 3 words. Sorry, 2 to 3 sentences. What happened that day? So it helps. It helps. It's just that you just need to learn. That's all.
And I guess, guys, whoever is still with us, let me know if you actually use any mind maps when you preparing any documentation, and maybe just preparing for the interview as well. Because I guess the other thing we want to mention with Amit today as well, it's this, set of different communication skills that recruiters is often looking for than interviewing for technical roles.
Yeah. Yeah. So Yana, just before you share,
Yeah.
yeah, no, no,
Okay. Before.
that's perfectly okay. No, I just wanted to
Yeah.
know, because you are into recruitment, right? And I'm
Yep.
sure you might see a lot of. So, what's your experience? Like, how does what is the, like, let's say if you're looking out for some skill, right? And what is the other soft skills, or how do you judge them? Because you will not, as a recruiter, and correct me if I'm wrong, you will not know all the skills learned, right? So that you can question them. And how do you find people?
So 100%. And look, I'm in the early stages of my recruitment career, but saying that, I have a degree in psychology, so I have a bit of a educational background, before I actually started my career in recruitment. But the thing is, to put it in really simple words, yes, a majority of the recruiters wouldn't know all the technology, as the technical people would know all the technology as well. So technology always changing, and new technology coming up every now and again. So you'll not be able to learn all about every technology. But it's all, majority of the time, it's all about understanding if the person can solve the problem or not. Can solve the problem or not, and also if this person can explain me, the person who don't have a particular technical skills, how he gonna solve the problem. And of course, we're not gonna check the technical skills unless you do particular technical interview and things like this. But we all know that the first round of interviews is usually, it's a bit of a cultural fit, and a bit of a feeling about your personality as well. So if the person can't really explain in a reasonably simple way what sort of project they done, and how what problem they solve, this is already a question mark. Because if they can't communicate it to me, how are they going to communicate it to their colleagues or to the hiring manager?
Wow. That's so interesting. I mean, you actually it's like giving away the secrets of getting a job. But you're absolutely true, because what you said is the point here. Like, and now you can share the next slide, is the most valuable skills, soft skills, right? Now, there are many, but you need to figure out when you're going to use what. Because, like Yana said, a lot of things are, you need to see that whether you fit in the culture of the work. Are you passionate about the work? Are you self-motivated? One of the things people also see it, right? Are you a team worker, for example? Effective communication, of course, is there, right? So you're absolutely right, Yana. I think I felt that this particular slide covers a lot of things, right? And mostly also, it's not just effective communication, empathy, organized listening skills, and being creative. That's why I thought I'll show the mind mapping as well. Leadership, that's the most, how should I put it, underjudged and not well utilized area, like I said. And passionate, and so on, right? So you got to make sure that you touch most of them, if not all.
100%. And usually, the recruiters prompt you to those areas anyway. The recruiters will ask you about, like, do you enjoy leadership, or do you like to be more hands-on, or they will ask what you're passionate about. Yeah, it sounds like it's such a simple question, but a lot of people don't have an answer, surprisingly. And I think, Amit, you mentioned before a really good point, that you said that some of your colleagues was in an interview and they asked a question about the hardest time he had, and he couldn't remember. So the really good point that you made is actually have these stories ready. We have we have so many experience, we have so many stories. It's really good exercise actually to spend some time doing you can do it as a mind map, or any other techniques that you can choose, but actually think about those stories. Think about some stressful times, hard time, like happy times, and have these stories ready, because then you're under pressure and someone asks you about the particular situation. It's really hard to come up with something on the spot. If you will ask me, like right now, about I don't know, the hardest time in my career or something, it will take me some time to come up with something. And maybe after the live stream will finish, I will be like, I should have told you that story. Yeah, but it will be too late.
Exactly. The worst part is that, at least when I was growing up, we had this concept of journaling. So we had this our own little diary which we used to write, which unfortunately got replaced by Facebook. But, the problem is that on Facebook, people are not going to put that, oh, I had a fight today at office, and so on and so forth. Facebook is for happy memories. So people have eventually forgotten to write, in a way, right? And that's exactly what you said. This is what happened with that guy as well. And he's like, I told them, but it was a bad example. And from there, my downward spiral started. I couldn't catch it up at all. So you're right.
Yep.
Writing stories will help.
And the story definitely give really specific examples as well. And as we just discussed, and we can translate it to this example with Rokia. Then you give this like specific example and tell about a specific situation. I don't know, particular colleague, particular project. Again, here we go. Your impact doubling straight away, because you're not telling in general, like, I'm great at this, and all the projects went so well and things like this. You're talking about the particular impact that you make. And, the ratio will be pretty much the same as a Rokia image.
Absolutely. And I'll share one more idea of stories, okay? So
Yep.
I'll tell all of your audience, they should like it. So there's an app called as Day One. Oh, sorry. There's an app called as Day One.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have stories. All these are just journal entries, right? So it's more than 600-700 now. And a lot of it, and it also points out on this day, right? So I click on it and it reminds me that 2 years back I did some stoic challenge. So all it does is that you just write it every day, and it's a free app as well. You don't have to purchase thing. But what I'm just trying to say is that it's just a matter of putting down your thoughts every day someplace and tagging them well. So when the moment comes, you just go pick up, work related. So just type work and you'll get all the things there and then.
100%. And also, I guess another example that came to my mind. Then I moved to Australia. I did this, resume course, whatever, to help you, to find a job in Australia. And we were writing the selection criteria, because for a lot of like government jobs, you need to write the selection criteria, and all the selection criteria mostly be behavioral questions, pretty much. So, but once you did this exercise, sit down and actually write your selection criteria, you don't need to come up with some amazing examples from your previous experience, but you just need to find the relevant examples, the conflict with the colleague or something like this. Again, doesn't need to be something amazing. We're not, shooting the Hollywood movie here or anything like this. Yes, it could be quite a basic story, but actually that's showing your reaction and your personality. So, I think if you ever, sit down and wrote this selection criteria, so you will have these stories ready for different situation and behavioral interview as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It just helps. It's just that, like I said, when people hear the word story, they hear the word, they're like book. All I'm saying is write 3 words. Like today, I'm gonna just write show with Yana, and probably I'll attach an image, and that's all I need for me to go back in time, and I can recall almost 30% to 50% of what discussion we had. That's all. So that's how you can take care.
And Amit, we're already hitting the 40 minutes mark into our interview. It's time to wrap things up. So I want to thank you for your time, and obviously thank you all our listeners today. So guys, also if you're enjoying our today discussion, please make sure to like this video, as it's encouraging me and encouraging my guests to keep going, and it's encouraging me to keep bringing various experts from my network to share their knowledge. So make sure hit this like button, as they say, and also make sure to subscribe to my channel. And I'll just give you a quick run through what's coming next. Next week on Wednesday, we're going to talk with Vikas. We're going to talk about the ways to improve interview process in IT industry. Because we'll be trying to cover it from the hiring manager point as well. So what's, giving some examples what went bad, can go bad in the interviews, and how sometimes hiring managers maybe not running the interviews the correct way as well. Then we're going to talk with Nick in 2 weeks about how to navigate your career in times of COVID. And the week after, we're going to talk with Jochen about the ways a mentor can boost your career potentials in IT. So there's a lot coming up. So as I said, I'm going live every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Please stay tuned. So Dinda saying great session, love it. Thank you for staying with us whole 40 minutes. And also please make sure to connect with Amit, so you can check out his YouTube channel and his live show as well, and connect with him LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook. And also, so for those who've been here with us today, make sure you can register for free his workshop on storytelling. It's on Sunday, the 11th of July at 3:30 p.m. Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
And what are you going to cover at this workshop, Amit?
Oh, we're gonna deep dive into storytelling. So basically, I have my 3 secrets, and there's more methods, and how we're gonna do it. All boils down to how you're gonna communicate better. Of course, it's professionals, but when I take this same thing to my loved ones, I can implement there as well. And
so
I try.
Don't go to your wife with the bullet points anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
You put some story.
She's like, get out.
It's not like me. Okay, so we're gonna have breakfast, then we're gonna go for a walk, then we're gonna
I think the only time we make a bullet point is when we have to buy grocery. That's all.
Yeah, groceries. Yeah. Thank you so much, Amit. So guys, make sure to register to the workshops on Sunday. We're gonna put the link in the comments of this video as well. And Amit just gonna put you on the spot, at the end of the live stream. Could you please, just to wrap it up, share your favorite inspirational quote?
Wow.
Right on the spot.
Right on the spot, exactly. Well, I think I have my own quote in a way, is that we want to make sure that we want to make sure that if we want to impact somebody, all right, the bottom line is, remember this, that I always say this to people: whatever comes from your mouth is, I'll again say this, whatever comes from your mouth is irreversible. make sure that it is impactful. And now, please, it's not for everything that comes out of your mouth, right? You please use it in this correct scenario. But whatever comes out from your mouth has to be impactful. That's how I take it forward.
100%. It's basically, please think before you speak.
Yeah, there you go. So there you go.
I'll summarize it for you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Amit. Thank you again, everyone, for watching us tonight. I hope you get some value tonight, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.